Hello Biblionauts, here we are with another book self-essential. I wanted to give you one more before I leave, since I will not be around these books for a couple of months. Not much, because my stage, my time in the UK is coming to an end, and I will have to stop by here before moving into the next stage, arriving at my next destination, and so on. And then I'll be able to give you some more book self-essentials. But until then, this is what I have to show you. You know this. I have already made a video about it. I'll link it in the description, although it's not a particularly good video. That was my first reading of it. Since then, I've kept returning to this. I'm referring to the early Frankenstein, the 1818 version, I think it is. Mary Shelley, she wrote it as a kid, and when she was older, she regretted some parts. It was a very passionate piece of writing, and precisely that passion is what made it what it is. That is what makes this a unique book that could never have been written by anyone else. This is one of those rare cases in which a book was not long waited or inevitable. This book was pretty much the result of a bunch of aleatory events coming together in a house in Italy in the middle of a weird summer due to volcanic eruptions, where there were storms going on, and she was in a house with Lord Byron as well as Shelley, Percy Shelley, and Byron proposed a game in which each person would come up with a scary story, and she couldn't come up with any, and that really bugged her. But then she went home, and during the night, after trying to think of that story, she had nightmares, and through the flashes of light from the lightnings, she saw this figure, the figure of Frankenstein, and wrote the story that follows. And of course, she definitely had a lot of help. Both her parents were not only very well read, but prolific writers, and I mean, she was in a house with Byron and Shelley, so we cannot expect her to have written every single word of this without help. She definitely had a lot of editing help, but this is a unique text and incredibly enjoyable. And for me, within it, you have many stories that are, for me, like many themes that are particular favorites, from the creation of the monster and the sense of accountability towards your creation, to the monster's journey, to the self-realization, to its understanding of his own condition and in relation to others, and doing that through reading, doing that through learning. I often compare this book to another book self-essential of mine, which is The Life of Frederick Douglass, because of that particular part on the book. I don't know if that it was something that someone would find offensive, but I feel like the monster of Frankenstein is an incredibly human being in every single sense. It's incredibly human is even not the right word, but what I mean is that it has a very strong sensibility, and that is the reason why the second part of this book, the moment in which his human cravings, his cravings for social interaction, for emotional connection and all of that are not fulfilled, he becomes a true monster. He wasn't a monster before. He was just very, very ugly. But that journey of learning by himself with no help and against every odd language, and not only language but literature, and not only literature but rhetoric and logical reasoning, that journey is also part of the life of Frederick Douglass. Maybe because I read one after the other, I saw that parallel, and I saw the story, and I realized that in both books, one of the themes that seduced me the most was that, since in a way I always felt like, you know, it was against all odds that I would be a reader in terms of where I'm coming from, my context and everything. And yeah, I mean I won't say much more. This is both on a general sense, just an amazing book, unique, super important in the context of both science fiction and just Gothic literature. But also, or even horror, but also on a personal way. Frankenstein is one of the characters in books that I've identified with the most. Not Frankenstein, sorry. It's Frankenstein's monster. And I think it's a really good choice from the author to not have given the monster a name, as confusing as it is when you are trying to speak about it. I think it says a lot about the story as well. So there you go. I haven't yet opened this edition. I have two pretty much completely destroyed editions up in the UK. But I brought this one here to make sure that I have more Frankenstein, because I want Frankenstein in my life from now until the end of days. I don't know where I'll see you and when I'll see you, but until then, take care and I'll see you on the other side.